Young mother is crediting the stroke team at the UC Neuroscience Institute with saving her life. She was rushed there after she had a stroke, but wasn't aware of the early warning signs. Local 12 medical reporter Liz Bonis shares the story in this Tri-State Health Alert.
Christin Harris and her husband Tony were in the early stages of helping many of the people you see here. They're part of a ministry they support in Haiti. One day, Christin suddenly discovered she might need some serious help herself.
I had a headache and some vision loss in my left eye.
Christin initially saw a doctor and eventually went to an area emergency room.
They said, you know, you're having migraines and, you know, and they gave me some shots for it, and they just, you know, sent me on my way.
But it wasn't a migraine. Days later, while at home with her family,
I couldn't feel my arm, and then the next thing I knew, I was on the ground and I had collapsed.
Christin collapsed due to a massive stroke. She was airlifted to be treated at a nearby medical center. Dr. Kissela met her at the door. As these images show, she had a procedure to open blocked blood vessels.
We had her here very quickly. I want to say we started that procedure about 4 hours after the onset of her symptoms, and were able to successfully get the vessels open quickly to restore blood flow and save the brain from being permanently injured.
At just 32, Christin was lucky enough to survive. But Dr. Kissela says her story serves as an important warning.
Stroke doesn't just happen to old people. In fact, we've done some research here in the city that shows a disturbing trend towards more strokes happening in younger ages.
Kissela published his research in the journal Neurology. He says the trend is up, partly due to risks for strokes such as obesity being up, but also because nobody thinks that someone that's 32, such as Christin, might even be at risk.
I mean, I'm young, so they just assumed that I was having migraines.
Part of the reason, however, she's sharing her story is to share with all of us an important message about identifying symptoms early. It may have been the very thing that saved her life. So here is what all of us need to know. There is an acronym known as FAST, and it can talk you through what you need to know to actually save a stroke survivor. FAST stands for face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty, and time to call 911. Christin Harris is back to supporting those that make these items in Haiti.
Since my stroke, we have began a sponsorship program for 14 kids now, and we got them all sponsored.
She says she feels she was made for the purpose of sharing this program. It is called Made to Love. At the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, Liz Bonis, Local 12 News.
And we have a link to Made to Love and the American Heart Association stroke prevention site at local12.com for you. Many of you are talking about stroke on our Facebook page. Here are some of your comments.
Ryan Nicole says, I had 2 last year at 26.
Wow.
I was dismissed at the ER with migraines both times, and I now have clots in my brain in veins that are unable to be dissolved, and I suffer daily.
Matt Rogers says this happened to my wife back in March. It was the day after our wedding, the day before we left for Ireland on our honeymoon. She went to the ER and was sent home after being treated for dehydration. The next day her condition worsened, and after another visit to the ER was transported to UC Medical. After a few weeks in the hospital and surgery to reduce the swelling, she was able to come home. She's doing much better now, and we will be going on our honeymoon on the 1st anniversary.
Wow. And Melissa McNaughton says, I was 36 and I had mine. I went to the emergency room and they said I had a migraine. Next week, I had the actual stroke. A clot went to my brain. Now I'm on disability and I don't know if I'll ever be able to go back to work. We want to thank you for sharing your stories with us, and you can join in the conversation by liking the Local 12 page on Facebook.